The sun beat down relentlessly on the dusty path that ran between Samaria and Galilee. Jesus and his disciples walked along, their feet kicking up small clouds of dirt with every step. Suddenly, from a distance, they saw 10 figures emerge. Their movements were slow and pained, and their bodies were wrapped in tattered rags that did little to hide the grotesque marks of their disease. They were lepers. In that era, a leper was not just a person with a physical ailment. They were social outcasts, condemned to a life of isolation. They could not approach towns, touch healthy people, or even live with their own families. They were living ghosts, separated from the world of the clean. "Jesus, teacher, have pity on us," they cried out, their voices raw with desperation. The plea echoed in the silent valley, a testament to their profound suffering and faint hope. Jesus stopped and turned toward them. His gaze was steady and compassionate, seeing past their physical deformities and straight into their weary souls. There was no disgust in his eyes, only a deep and profound love. "Go," he said, his voice calm yet firm. "Show yourselves to the priests." The 10 men froze, bewildered. "Go to the priests." According to the law, only those who had been cleansed of leprosy were permitted to see a priest, to be certified as clean and readmitted into society. But they were still lepers. They looked at each other, their faces a mix of confusion and hesitant hope, yet they chose to trust his words. Without another moment of hesitation, they turned and began walking toward the city where the priests lived, their bodies still ravaged by the disease. As they walked, a miracle began to unfold. A strange warmth spread through their bodies, replacing the constant ache. They stared in disbelief as the angry sores on their skin began to heal, the rotting flesh giving way to smooth, healthy skin. Their limbs were restored, and their faces became whole again. They were clean. Overjoyed, 9 of the men broke into a run, eager to reach the priests and prove their healing. Their only thought was to get back to their lives, their families, and the world they had been banished from for so long. But one man stopped. He was a Samaritan. In a world where Jews and Samaritans were bitter enemies, he was a double outcast. Overcome with an emotion more powerful than joy, he turned around and raced back to where he had last seen Jesus. He praised God in a loud voice as he ran, and when he reached Jesus, he fell to his knees, pressing his forehead into the dusty ground at Jesus' feet. He didn't speak, for he knew words could not express the depth of his gratitude. Jesus looked down at him, his expression serene. He looked around at the empty path and asked, "Were not all 10 cleansed? Where are the other 9? Has no one returned to give praise to God except this foreigner?" Jesus then spoke directly to the man on the ground. "Rise and go," he said. "Your faith has made you well." With these words, Jesus did more than affirm the man's physical healing. He affirmed his gratitude and his faith, which went beyond mere physical restoration. The man stood up, the sunlight illuminating his new face, which shone with a freedom and a joy that the others, for all their physical healing, had not yet